rights?
What rights do you think you're referring to?
Rights, like in that official paper that they wrote down the street there?
That's the Bill of Rights.
Yeah, the Bill of Rights. Don't it say something about going after what makes you happy?
No, that's the pursuit of happiness. But what's your point?
My point is I'm pursuing something and nobody looks too happy about it.
But we're just looking out for your interests.
I appreciate that, but maybe you're looking out for your interests just a little bit more. I mean, you shouldn't be asking people to come down here and pay the freight on something they paid. It still ain't good enough. I mean, you think that's right? I mean, maybe you're doing your job, but why you gotta stop me from doing mine? Because if you're willing to go through all the battling you gotta go through to get to where you want to get, who's got the right to stop you? I mean, maybe some of you guys got something you never finished, something you really want to do, something you never said to somebody, something. And you're told no, even after you pay your dues. Who's got the right to tell you that? Who? Nobody. It's your right to listen to your gut. It ain't nobody's right to say no after you earn the right to be where you want to be and do what you want to do. You know, the older I get, the more things I gotta leave behind. That's life. The only thing I'm asking you guys to leave on the table is what's right.
Yes, the melodic tones of Jefferson Starship Jane. That means one thing: refueled by bagels from Bagel Boss.
We had a couple technical glitches with the last one. That's why we had to cut it short.
Lox, tuna, whitefish. I have been renewed, reestablished with vigor. It is nothing worthwhile with Moody, Andrew Gruthius, my partner in crime. Well, we hit upon almost the entire Rocky franchise from beginning to end, finishing with Rocky V. How did you feel? How did you enjoy discussing 1 through 5?
I really do enjoy talking about these movies because it's my favorite franchise, and they all speak to me in different ways, for better or worse, and I really did enjoy it.
You mentioned franchise, and off the top of my head, where does the Rocky franchise exist in the world of moviedom? Is it number one? Where is it for you?
Well, for me, it's number one. I mean, everyone, if you ask somebody who's under 25, they're going to say it's the Marvel franchise, that's like the greatest. And any millennial would probably say Star Wars. But for me, Rocky is the one.
So we're going to talk.
I can't even give you a second place.
Interesting. Not even a second place. Nothing
else. I would have to think about it, but I know that Rocky is number one.
Number one, more than the Godfather trilogy.
Yep. I don't consider that a franchise. I consider
better
that
than Star Wars.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Not better is not the word, because there have been some clunkers in the Rocky franchise, but still, even as bad as one or two of them might have been, each of them still speaks to me in a way, and in a certain way, and the character is just somebody I will follow wherever, whenever, no matter what.
You're a movie guy. You're a movie fan. Almost every single franchise always exists with that law of diminishing returns. Mm-hmm. Why does it happen to so many franchises? Why do we see the first or the second really strong, and by the third, fourth, is it just losing creative steam?
Yeah, it's hard to keep. It's you create characters, and part of that first one is the first act telling us who these people are. So, and then we get to take the journey with them. When you start a second movie, you already know who they are, so it's like we got to jump right into the action, yet it still feels rushed. It's like it's just coming up with new ways of telling the same story. And the Rocky franchise has, to me, been able to do that. But yeah, it's the same thing with everything, with a few exceptions. A lot of people say Godfather 2 is better than Godfather 1. I disagree, but they're both incredible movies, two of the greatest movies ever made. When they went to Godfather 3, they didn't know where to take it.
Yeah, it was.
So they had a bunch of ideas, and they said, all right, well, let's go with this one. And it was a silly one.
Yeah.
So it's just, yes, creative. It's all creative.
Immobiliare.
Immobiliare.
We're going to talk about Rocky Balboa. When you look at the Rocky franchise, should it have stopped at 3? Should it have stopped at 4? Stopped at 5?
I think it should still keep going.
Come on, you don't really believe that? A 70-something-plus-year-old Stallone as Rocky?
I believe in the character, and I just... So much of my life has been invested in this character that I'll watch him talk about taking a dump for 2 hours.
So somebody had posted, and I don't remember where, but the latest rumor was Stallone was considering another, not Creed, but a Rocky sequel in which he meets up with an illegal immigrant. And somehow family gets taken away, and he trains this guy. I mean, come on, you don't want to see that, really?
Yes and no, and I'll tell you why.
Please.
I'll tell you why. It's the same attitude I had when I heard them announce Creed and Creed 2. I said to myself, it's not going to work. It's just not going to work. There's no way to make this work. There's no way to tell the story of, Apollo Creed's son.
Why?
Well, no, I'm just saying that's what I told myself. I was like, the Rocky series ended perfectly. Now it's just like they're just reaching. And then Creed 1 was terrific. They found a beautiful way to offshoot and still make it about Rocky, which is the most important thing, really. It really is. Because when Rocky's in the picture, you can't get your mind off him. That's the problem with the Creed movies. And I know we're not talking about Creed here, but that's the problem with the Creed movies is that when Rocky's not on screen, you can't wait for him to come back. With Rocky around, we can't invest fully in Adonis Johnson. And then but just to answer your question, when they announced Creed 2, bringing back Drago and Drago's son, I'm like, all right, that's just ridiculous.
See, I feel you were completely the opposite.
No, I
feel you were like, a chance to revisit that old retro character again.
Why do it from the movie I liked the least, or at least in some fashion? Well, why not take Tommy Gunn's illegitimate son? I mean that's
Maybe.
What it sounded, but that's what it sounded like to me. Stupid. And I said, there's no way for this to work. Just like the way I reacted to when they announced Cobra Kai. There's no way for that to work. Well, guess what? The creativity, I didn't give these people enough credit, and they found a way to make these things work for me. Okay? But that's debatable. But that's my answer to the question.
Well, I don't want to get into a Creed jaunt, but I felt like the first one really established a separate universe with Rocky in it. But I do agree.
Correct.
Stallone or the Rocky character is so strong that when, yes, he's not on the screen, the movie does somewhat lag.
And look, we talked about in the last podcast how much we dislike Rocky 5. Does that mean that I've only seen it once? No, I've seen it dozens of times. I'll watch it if it's on TV because I'm in love with that character. That's all. That's all I can. That's the whole thing.
You don't watch it and critique it and say, here's where it could have been better?
No, I've done that. Because there are, like I said, there are parts of it which are great. Some scenes with him and his son, because it's his own son in real life, and the tragedy that happened to that kid in real life later on. Yeah. There's some real pathos there. There's some great stuff with him and Adrian, and just seeing him and Paulie walking down the. I mean, there are, and yes, sometimes I'll look at it and be like, they could have done this better, they could have done that better, but the character's just so goddamn endearing that we let things go.
So they announced Rocky Balboa. That they're going to come out and make Rocky Balboa. So when I think about Stallone, and of course I'm sure you'll correct me, but he has an amazing first act, sort of dips, and then I think about he has a brief second run. I think about Copland, and I think about some of those mid-level movies that he did, and then gone for a long time. Does Rocky Balboa, was that next wave of nostalgia in which he brings back the Rambo character as well? Sort of that 2008 where we are today, and was it the Expendables, was that the beginning of sort of this third act for
Well, Rocky
Stallone?
Balboa was, yeah.
Was it
because-
Balboa?
Yeah, because before Balboa, he was in a string of like straight-to-video
Right.
movies, like ICU, Avenging Angelo, or movies that if they came out in the theater, they were gone quickly. Like even a movie that you and I liked, Get Carter, it disappeared quickly.
Shockingly enough, I really did like Get Carter.
But disappeared quickly.
Didn't get one good review,
Yeah,
though.
they did a movie called Driven, which hardly,
Yes.
so this was, and then the others were going right to video. He did a movie called Shade, which I've never even seen, and so Balboa was really, like the character in the movie, is going back to the only thing that always was good to him.
Again, maybe a dumb question. You hear, you see on a website, they're making Rocky Balboa. Excited, don't care, nervous where they're going to take the character?
Thrilled for a few reasons. Number one, I felt there was still more that they could do. And number two, don't end it with Rocky V.
Okay.
I want to see because by then I knew what Stallone was doing. And with Stallone has always been my favorite movie star. And to have him coming back to that, I was fascinated to see what he would come up with because he never really let me down with that. Even in like a Rocky V, he's still just the way he embodies that character. I just wanted to see what he was going to come up with. I was thrilled.
So as a result of the overall poor response to Rocky V, poor box office, 16 years later, that's a lifetime. Stallone wrote and directed and starred in the film Rocky Balboa, the sixth chapter to the saga. Again, this was an attempt to redeem the title character of Rocky for a final chance to come back as a hero again and do the story justice by bringing it full circle. As for Rocky, will fight again in this movie. And also mentioning that Rocky V, the injuries that were stated in the Rocky IV and Rocky V movies were less debilitating than once thought, and he would receive a clean bill of health moving forward. 20 years later, after the events of Rocky V, Rocky, now 61, lives a quiet life as a widower. First thing that came to my mind, what do you think about the plot point of Adrian passing away and Rocky is now a widower?
When I heard about it, I'm like, oh, geez. Like, Adrian's the heart and soul of Rocky, really. I mean, she's Rocky's heart and soul. So without her, what are you going to do? Well, guess what? She was still the heart and soul because she is the reason, again, why Rocky does what he does. If Adrian's alive, he doesn't fight. He lives out his days like at the end of Rocky V. He's like, Adrian, you were right. This is who we are, and this is what it'll be. So he runs a restaurant, and he's good. He's content. But when he loses Adrian, it's almost like, and he explains it literally in the dialogue in the movie. He explains why he needs to go back into the ring. It's because of Adrian.
Well, you mentioned he's good because the movie 20 years later, he's certainly not a man of wealth, but he has a small but successful restaurant named Adrian's after his wife.
Right.
He's no longer depressed. He's no longer broke. He's not a millionaire, but he has a pretty good life. He's doing far better than he was in years prior. I think what the movie establishes early, I really bought into the whole widower thing. I mean, he's visiting Adrian's graveside regularly. He's got the chair. He's got the newspaper. He's got the old man glasses hanging off the bridge of the nose. So I really bought into that plot point, and
I love seeing him in the market, but buying all the stuff for the restaurant and talking to the people, and like I really like all that. It really shows like who he is.
Movie establishes early Rocky's struggling relationship with his son Robert Jr., who's now a mid-level corporate executive, and they have grown farther and farther apart over the years. And then, of course, here's where the plot begins. ESPN has a program called Then and Now, and they sort of put out these fantasy bookings of boxing matches. And in a computer-simulated fight between Rocky and the current champion, Mason the Lion Dixon, played by, I I think he's a former. I don't think he's actively fighting, but at that point
champion.
he was Antonio Tarver.
Yeah.
And the simulation sees Rocky winning by knockout in the 13th round. And, of course, this stirs up debate on the sports shows, wondering if this fight will ever occur. And inspired by the simulation and feeling he still has some issues to deal with, what we like to call the stuff in the basement, Rocky decides to return in the ring, and he applies to renew his boxing license. Before we get to that, what do you think about the impetus of the fight, the whole computer simulation, ESPN debate?
You bring up the one
little
weakness in the movie. You bring up it would have worked without it. It would have worked with him just realizing that this existence, while okay,
even at 61,
yes, this. Well, wait a second.
Okay,
that him realizing that this existence, while okay, because think about what he does. He runs the restaurant and he spends all his time just telling old.
By the way, let me ask you:
stories.
Do they quote him at 61 in the movie, or is he a little bit younger?
They don't say.
Okay,
they don't. They never say. But he's living in the past. Okay, and all he's doing is telling old stories, and you could see the look on his face when he's doing it. His heart isn't in it, and he's not loving life. But he's
so. What are you referencing at the restaurant when he's telling his old war stories to the customers?
Yeah, you see, he's kind of even bored with it. But this is his lot in life, and then they could have come up with something else to stir up the passion. Maybe, just maybe, they could have had Adrian pass away on screen in the movie, and maybe that would have been the catalyst. But I don't know. We're trying to rewrite history. All I'm saying is that the computer fight was a little too flimsy. That it didn't need that to get him back into it.
It is weak, but at a guy at his age, how would he be brought into the current relevancy of debate and discussion?
Well, he didn't want to be.
Well, exactly.
He just wanted to fight.
But
he just wanted to get in the ring, like locally. Like there are tons of clubs all around that do that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to box.
Well, initially in the movie, Balboa wants to come back and do sort of a George Foreman thing where he's fighting in small clubs for charity. He does pass the required physical at flying colors. However, the licensing committee, as we heard in the clip prior to the show, denies his application, citing his advanced age and their moral duty to protect him from himself. Of course, Rocky responds with an impassioned speech of his own, and the committee changes their mind to renew their license. That's got to be some Hollywood stuff, right?
I look at it the other way. That, to me, right there is the whole movie, because that's Stallone's life. He's sitting there like I could almost envision him writing that speech saying, why won't Hollywood accept me? I've done all of these things. I've done everything. I've made millions of dollars for all these people, and they don't want me anymore. And I could see him writing those words like, why are you making somebody pay the freight on something they already paid? Like, this is what I do. Let me do it. Let me be who I am.
Well, who was stopping him?
Well, people they weren't giving him good roles. They weren't offered that, because he's always been written off as a bad actor.
Okay.
And anytime he wanted to do Rocky, because Rocky 5 was made no money, they were like, Rocky's done. And he was like, give me a shot. I've done it for you before. I could do it for you again. Why are you not letting me do this?
So you're telling me the Nevada State Boxing Commission, let's just put it into real terms, denies an application for an older fighter. He does an impassioned speech, and they go, you know what? We were wrong. We're going to rubber stamp. I mean, it
works for the movie, doesn't work in real life.
Okay, fine. That's what I'm trying to say.
It's fine with me. I'm more down on the computer fight than I am on that.
Okay. Fine, I'll accept that point. The brain damage that Rocky was diagnosed in Rocky 5 is not addressed in the film. Interviews, Stallone has said that the storyline explanation would have been that Rocky's brain damage was within the normal range for boxers. When tested for brain damage in Rocky 5, Rocky was suffering from the effects of a severe concussion as a result of the Drago fight, but never sought a second or more informed opinion because he was going to retire anyway. Any thoughts on that whole brain? I mean, they did kind of drop it. And certainly today with the concussion protocols of sports, That's where I have a problem in a sense with the commission speech. I love it, and I buy it as a fan, but the realism to me, it doesn't fly true.
Stallone didn't have to even say that, because I would buy Rocky Balboa, and follow me here, I would buy Rocky Balboa as a direct sequel to Rocky 1. Because Rocky 1, here comes this guy. Just listen. I see the look on your face. Here comes this guy out of nowhere, does this miraculous thing, and the end, and it's over. And then here's this guy 40 years later. Okay? He had his huge moment with the champion of the world, did all this, and now who is he? He's this guy, this palooka running a restaurant, nice guy, everybody likes him, whatever, blah, blah, blah. He loses everything. His son is going in a different direction. His wife passes away. What am I going to do with myself? Let me go back into the ring. Let me do what I was good at, the only thing I was really good at. I think they retcon 5 a little bit. They never bring it up. It's the only one that's not referred to in Rocky Balboa.
Interesting.
In any way.
They refer to 3 and 4 in some avenue?
They refer to it.
Are there pictures on the wall at Adrian's?
Some pictures on the wall, although if you look carefully, they don't show any of Apollo Creed because apparently Carl Weathers wanted to be paid for them using his likeness, and they didn't have the money to pay him. So nothing of Creed. But not that they reference all these things. They actually really don't. But it feels like Rocky 5 never happened.
Well, what I did want to ask you, because 16 years later, so does Rocky Balboa? Does it feel like part of lineage of the first? Does it feel more as a Rocky movie than 5? Does it feel part of the 1, 2, 3, 4? Does it feel part of the franchise, or is it so disconnected by time and by age?
No, it feels. It's definitely got current day gloss. But it definitely feels more like a Rocky movie than 5 did, and definitely more than 4 did. It's right on. It's right in there with like Rockies 2 and 3. Rocky 1 has a feel and look of its own that has never been duplicated. So I think that it's definitely feels like part of the Rocky 2 and 3 style of filmmaking, and that's no coincidence because Stallone directed 2 and 3. He did not direct 5.
Rocky's intentions were originally to compete in small local fights for fun and charity. Mason Dixon's promoters convinced Rocky to challenge the champ in an exhibition match at the MGM in Grand in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. Originally against fighting an aged Rocky, Dixon recognizes the opportunity to fight a legend and hopes to end all prognosticating about who would win, as well as contentions that he never truly had a great opponent or memorable match. And the press commentators dismiss Rocky's chances and merits for the fight. And then we go to now the situation with his son. Son confronts Rocky. He now feels more pressure than ever from being Rocky's son, and it makes an effort to discourage Rocky from fighting. And of course, there's that great scene outside the restaurant, and Rocky rebukes him, giving him some advice, saying it ain't about how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit, and keep moving forward. I mean, that to me is the winning scene. I know you mentioned some other scenes of Rocky Balboa, but I mean, I referenced that as an assistant principal. I mean, it was just such a great scene.
That's not only the best scene in Rocky Balboa, it's a legendary scene. Football teams play that before they go out. Like, imagine a quote or a scene from the last Rocky movie being the most famous one, besides Yo Adrian, I Did It. Because there's so much in that scene about Stallone. He's like, I was here and now I keep getting hit and hit, but I keep coming back. That's what you got to do. You can't just let people say you suck and then accept it. You got to go out and get what you're worth. To me, that's not only this scene works in two areas. Okay, number one, it's Stallone talking about his own life, and it's also addressing his real life son, who wasn't played by Sage in the movie, but he was on the outs with his son at the time. That's why Sage wasn't in the movie, because Sage always blamed He
No.
said exactly what I've read all this. He said exactly to Stallone what the character says. Like, I'm living in your shadow. It's not easy. I'm Sylvester Stallone's son. I can't even get a movie made on my own without your, lore sneaking in. And so Rocky says probably what Sylvester said to his own son. Go out and do your thing. Don't believe what these people say. Do what you believe in. You're gonna get hard. You're gonna get hit. You're gonna go down. You just get back up and keep fighting. And that's that's the whole point of this whole series, really.
Sage Stallone is dead.
Yeah.
Drugs?
They said he just had a heart attack, but that doesn't make sense.
I believe drugs was involved. Now, Here's my question to you. I thought he passed prior to Rocky Balboa.
No. He passed prior to Creed, but not that long before Creed, like 2011, 12, I think, somewhere around there.
The day after the debate, father and son meet over Adrian's gravesite and reconcile. Reconciliation seems to also be a theme in the Rocky movies. It's like two characters have to reconcile, and that's the okay for Rocky to go give his full 100% effort in his training. I always feel, there's him and Adrian or him and Mickey. There has to be some kind of reconciliation where he could fully commit to the training process to get himself in best physical and mental shape for his fight. No? Am I reading too much into it?
No, you're not, because I just realized something. In the first Rocky, the reason that I respond this way is because notice that, unless I'm wrong, and I'm trying to think, with this reconciliation idea, it's always somebody coming back to Rocky, never Rocky chasing down the other person. Like in Rocky Balboa, the son goes to see him at the gravesite.
Go ahead. I don't know if I'm buying this, but I believe there's a theme of reconciliation. Let's look at the first movie.
Okay.
Would you not say Rocky and Mickey have to reconcile prior to...
But Mickey comes to Rocky.
No,
I know you're going to say Rocky goes out to...
Yes,
but I'm saying that Mickey, they've been at odds for so long, and here comes Mickey to Rocky.
Okay, I'll buy that.
All right. In the second one, Adrian, she doesn't want him to fight, and then she comes over to his side and says, win. Because when he's at her bedside and the baby's born, he's like, listen, if you don't want me mixing with Creed no more, we'll find another way. And then she's like, I just want you to do one thing for me, win. So she's coming to him.
You're really a voice man.
In three,
That's not a good
again.
He's just barreling through. Is there two reconciliations in 3? Is it Rocky and Apollo and then Rocky and Adrian?
But in both situations, Apollo comes to Rocky. Look at it. Apollo comes to Rocky, and Adrian comes to Rocky.
I'm giving you a Jewish oy vey with locks spread on my breath. I don't know if they came to him. I mean, is that
but
really...
But that's the thing. That's the thing.
I mean, isn't reconciliation two parties come together to agree?
Yes, but at the end, if you look at all these things, everyone always comes around.
Now, which one? I'll tell you, 4, definitely Adrian went to Rocky. I mean, she traveled all the way to Russia.
Yeah, everyone ends up understanding what Rocky is going through. They understand that he needs this, that he is a good man. He would never hurt anybody. He just wants to do his thing the way he feels he needs to do it, and everyone always comes to that understanding. That's what's endearing about the character. That's why people keep going back to see the movies.
Well, let's bring it back to Rocky Balboa. He reconciles with his son Robert. They bring in Apollo's old trainer Duke, and they decide quickly Rocky at this advanced age doesn't have the skills. If you remember, the hips are shot, the knees. So what do they decide? They're going to go with raw power. So we have the training montage, less about boxing and more about weights. And then we get to the fight. And I do remember Stallone looked damn good for a guy in his 60s. I mean, he was just absolutely jacked. Not all natural, though. Come on.
Of course not. He never was.
How dare you? Match finally begins. I do remember the actual boxing match because it's clearly upgraded from prior Rocky fights. I mean, this looks like a fight on Showtime.
Yeah. I wouldn't have gone in that direction.
Why not?
Because I would have.
You want the old bad special effects?
I want the.
Really?
Yeah. But I still loved it. Okay. But if I were doing it, I would have been like, let's do it the way we used to do it.
It looked like a Saturday night
still
fight on
terrific.
HBO.
Yeah. But I missed the punches that sounded like bombs going off in the arena, but it still worked. And to its credit, it's by far the most realistic fight of all the movies.
Well, what do you feel about? I mean, ultimately, look, it's no secret. A 60-year-old is going to give a guy in his late 20s.
No, that's not what I mean.
Competitive fight.
That's not what I mean. I mean the way they're fighting, the punches, the feel of it. It was definitely more realistic. Story-wise, less so. But who cares? But I didn't care because Dixon said it in the scene after the weigh-in. He's like, "Listen, we'll have fun out there. I'll carry you, but listen, you come after me, I'm coming after you." He's basically saying this is a show. And Rocky's like, "I'm here to win, man." And so Dixon, we already know, is taking this lightly, much as Apollo did in the first movie. So I think that if Mason Dixon trains hard and is doing it is taking Rocky seriously as a threat, Mason beats his ass. But because he looked at it the way he did, Mason's an underwritten character in the movie. Could have done better with that.
Sure is.
Could have done better with that. But it still all works beautifully.
The fight kind of follows the typical Rocky storyline. Rocky gets dominated early on. Mason Dixon catches Rocky with a punch, hurts his hand. This gives Rocky the little avenue to mount some offense, knocking Nixon down for the first time in the latter's career. During the subsequent rounds, Dixon's injury numbs up, which then allows him to throw some harder punches and poses a threat to Rocky. Final round, it starts out slow for both combatants, and after an exchange of punches, Dixon catches Rocky with a strong blow, knocking down Rocky for the third time. As Rocky takes a knee, he looks to his son and has flashes back of his time with Adrian, remembering that he never gave up. And, of course, as he gets up slowly, the crowd is in full Rocky mode. Dixon is surprised at Rocky's endurance. In the final round, as the final 30 seconds unfold, Dixon manages to catch Rocky with some quick punches. However, an emotional Rocky retaliates with devastating punches of his own to end the fight. Final blow, bell rings. At the end, the two fighters go the distance, show their appreciation for each other. Before the winner is announced, Rocky and his entourage make their way out of the ring in celebration. And of course, again, you did mention, I'm not sure if they did this similar thing with Rocky. You do hear the announcement that Mason Dixon is the winner, yet really you're focused on Rocky as his entourage.
It's drowned out.
It's drowned out by crowd noise and Rocky celebrating. Rocky thanks everyone and everyone in his group, and with Robert and Paulie by his side, and Rocky raises his arms.
And Duke. And Spider Rico, and of course, really a great coda or finish to the movie. Rocky visits Adrian's gravesite, puts flowers on the top, telling her, "Yo, Adrian, we did it," which is a play on the second film's line, "Yo, Adrian, I did it." Rocky is seen walking away from the grave and waving goodbye one last time. And actually, I believe they even fade him out. Disappears, yeah.
Wow. I'm getting goosebumps actually just
powerful.
Discussing it. Let's just go right back to the fade out. Was that supposed to be it for the character?
I believe so. I remember reading about it at the time in some reviews, and they insinuate that that's telling us that Rocky is gone. That he's done it all and he's gone. Obviously, nothing's ever really gone, but I've never heard Stallone address it. It's his movie, his character. He directed it, he wrote it, so I'd be curious to hear what he'd have to say. But I think, that was supposed to be the end.
Thoughts on the final fight itself?
It was exciting as hell. It was like the same tropes, just like the other ones. 2 rounds and then the music starts, and they go the full distance. Like I said, I would have found it a little bit more exciting, like if it was done in the more fictitious way. But they went in the direction they did, and you're sitting there again. I went to see the movie with yours and mine old friend Mike Gorman, and we were sitting there in a theater in New York City, and this whole crowd of people is sitting there cheering and chanting "Rocky, Rocky,"
really,
just like we did years earlier, an experience that doesn't even happen. But Rocky I think he brings that out of people. Because everybody just loves rooting for an underdog, especially one with a built-in chant. And it was just, the movie is a great experience. And the fight itself, very well choreographed, very exciting, especially at the end when I love Rocky when he gets pissed. Like in 3, when he's taunting Clubber Lang, and he's like, my mother hits harder than that, come on, in the face. At this, in the end, when Mason keeps coming at him, and he's like, come on. We were sitting there like, yeah! Like we were like you and I would be. Like they had just so many of these moments in the fight, which was just terrific. And I liked when he got knocked down, and then you hear the voice in his head, excuse me, sorry. What was it you said to the kid? It's not about how hard you hit, it's about how you can get hit. Get up, boom. Dun, 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 dun. I mean, Jesus Christ. Does it get better than that?
I want to apologize to Michael Gorman.
He'll admit it. He teared up a little bit. Actually, let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Because there was one moment in the movie that actually had me holding back tears. And it was right before they went into the ring when Paulie brings them aside and says, listen, I know you got a lot of stuff inside. He's like, now you do it. Tonight you do it. Please, I love you. And he kisses him. That got to me.
Yeah. I remember also the scene at the meatpacking plant where Paulie, I think they end up terminating him. And he...
Yes.
And, all that with the stuff... a lot of emotional baggage.
And Rocky breaks down.
Yeah.
There's actually a deleted scene where Paulie breaks down over the death of his sister. That's supposed to take place after that they cut out.
And supposedly they filmed an ending where Rocky wins.
I've seen that, and it's really awesome.
No.
It's awesome. It's awesome. It wouldn't have worked for the movie. Rocky needed to lose that fight. Okay? But it's fun to watch because they're still in the ring. Okay, they don't leave. Okay, they're still in the ring, and the music that's over it, as Michael Buffer is making the announcements, is not Rocky music. It's like temp music from the movie Miracle, which is a movie that I love, so I recognize the music right away, and just the excitement that's building in the ring over the prospect of Rocky actually winning this fight. It's fun to watch, and it's like goose pimple worthy. But yes, it would not have worked. He needed to lose.
It's goose pimple worthy. Rocky Balboa was an unexpected box office success, exceeded studios' expectations, grossing over 3 times the opening night's estimate. Finished third in its opening weekend, grossing over $12 million. Eventually became Stallone's most successful starring role since 1993's Cliffhanger. Sixth highest grossing boxing film of all time.
Think about that right there.
Topped by only Rocky through Rocky IV and Clint Eastwood's $1 Million Baby. Was nominated for an MTV Movie Award. Total U.S. box office gross receipts was a little bit over $70 million, with international gross standing at right around $86 million. Total worldwide gross of over $156 million. So Rocky Balboa, a commercial success?
Yeah. For the time, yeah. I mean, adjusted for inflation, that's a lot of money. And it was a very small budget because the studio did not have a lot of faith in this movie. So they were given like a budget of like maybe $15 million, maybe 20. So that's very profitable enterprise right there.
I mean, I'm assuming if you're a studio, you're hoping for that wave of nostalgia, but you can't survive on that alone. I mean, you have to bring in fresh fans really to make it a hit.
Yes, and they did, because everybody, I mean, if you ask...
I mean, they knew people, guys our age would go to see it because they're Rocky fans.
But kids have seen this movie.
Yeah. I was an assistant principal. I left early on a Friday. I didn't leave early, but I think right after school, I didn't stay late. I packed up, went right to for like a 4:30.
Remember that excitement?
Yes.
We hardly ever get that anymore.
We sure don't. Rocky Balboa was well received by critics.
Yes.
The film garnered a certified fresh rating of 77% on Rotten Tomatoes. Was given an average score of 6.5 out of 10. The site's consensus reads, implausible, but entertaining and poignant. Rocky Balboa finds the champ in fighting form for the first time in years. Metacritic had a weighted average of 63 out of 100 based on 36 reviews. CinemaScore gave the film a grade of B+. On Ebert and Roper, both Richard Roper and guest reviewer Aisha Tyler gave the film a thumbs up, received positive reviews from New York Magazine, Premiere Magazine, FilmReview.com, Hollywood Reporter, and Entertainment Weekly. Well, I just ran out of notes. Rocky Balboa.
How do you not like a movie so well-intentioned and so, just so good-hearted, and like it's impossible not to be seduced by it.
I nowhere near the fan of you are of movies in Hollywood, but I left. That was a great. I'm sorry, that was a great fucking performance by Stallone. I mean, yes. I left Rocky Balboa and I said, wow. That's the range I would have liked to have seen in maybe earlier projects. I mean,
Cobra.
He's aging. You're the disease, and I'm the cure.
And I'm the cure.
It felt like Rocky in his early 60s. It felt like that's where a guy might be. Everything. Listen, the simulated fight, maybe getting passed by the.
It's a flimsy excuse, but it doesn't get in the way.
But
like in Rocky V. The whole catapult for him doing what he did was so out of whack that it was hovering over the entire movie and ruined it. Like the reason that he had to go back to Philadelphia.
Well, we know that the Rocky franchise ends here. We know that it's continued in the universe of the Creed movies. I don't want to get into those movies, but you've enjoyed Stallone's performances in the Creed movies.
Oh, my God.
God, look at there's a wet spot in his jeans.
I would argue that his performance as Rocky in the first Creed is his best performance of the character.
Wow.
Acting wise.
Yeah.
I would argue that.
I would say that the difference between that performance and Rocky Balboa, they're both older, but in the first Creed movie, there's a fragility and a real... Father Time has not been so kind in that one, and it's
and he's truly alone.
Yeah, yes. I mean, he was nominated for
supporting actor
in an Academy Award or Golden Globe or both.
He won the Golden Globe. Was nominated for the Academy.
Did not win.
Should have won.
Who won?
Was Mark Rylance for Bridge of Spies.
Oh, God.
And if you ever see My Brother Steven and mention the name Mark Rylance, he'll punch you in the face because he is still deeply wounded by the fact that Stallone didn't win.
Mark Rylance.
Yeah, My Brother Steven, he hates that movie. He hates that movie, which is a good movie, but he hates it just because the guy beat Stallone.
Stallone backlash? Why didn't they give the old man a break?
Because and I can't mention any names, but I used to work. No.
Mr. Insider.
I used to work in the business, and I kind of know how these people think. And
Larry Doby Jr.
For example, the people I used to work for would never vote. And the people I used to work for never were not nominated. They were nominated once for an Oscar, didn't win. They would never vote for Sylvester Stallone. Their actual attitude would probably be like, I've never won an Oscar, and I'm going to vote for Stallone. No, not going to happen. And that is, I believe, plus he's a Republican, and Hollywood does not like Republicans. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but because he still won the Golden Globe, but it was just Stallone's reputation maybe kept him from winning that award. That's my theory.
Well, good for you, Sylvester. You stay true to your political beliefs. Here's my last question before we wrap it up. We've talked about the Rocky franchise, but just some final thoughts on Stallone as an actor, action hero. Where does he exist when it's all said and done? Where is he gonna fall in line?
He'll be remembered as one of the 5 greatest movie stars of all time.
Wow. That's absolutely high praise.
You don't agree? I mean, how many people can we say that he had a run?
Well, movie star would not equate a great actor or culturally
significant. I didn't say great. I didn't say great actor.
I'm okay. You didn't let me finish. I'm acknowledging that there's 2 different things.
Yeah.
Could he have been considered a great actor?
I think he is. I think he is a terrific actor.
Okay, but I don't think he's not going to appear on any kind of top 10 list anytime soon.
No, because he doesn't get that credit because of what he did outside of Rocky.
Did you like Copland?
Loved Copland, and he gives a great performance.
He sure does. Why did he not? It didn't seem like he wanted to capitalize on that kind of critical success. I mean, it was really the first time.
I think he tried and he failed. I think there were a couple things he did after Copland which just didn't fly.
Okay,
but he obviously has movies that he phoned in. You could say the same thing about the greatest actors in the world, Pacino, De Niro. They all have cash grabs. Okay, so am I going to say that Stallone gave a great performance in Cobra? No, he did not. He was playing his regular run-of-the-mill cop, and it was a hit, and he made money, and that's it. When he tried, he was great, like in Copland, and in Rocky, he always tries, and with Rambo, he always tries, and where he really tries to give you everything he's got, he succeeds. Unfortunately, people have him kind of put in a place where they'll never accept him as a master thespian. But movie star, he had a run where every movie he was in was a hit for a while. So like Stallone, Eddie Murphy, Schwarzenegger, those guys are in that top 5. I'd have to think about the other 2.
Don't you dare put Eddie Murphy. Are you trying to Eddie Murphy with Stallone and Schwarzenegger?
As movie stars, yes. I didn't say acting. I said as the top movie stars.
I wouldn't put him anywhere near as a movie star.
Really?
Eddie Murphy has been nowhere for the last 20 years. You're a old Hollywood shill.
But Eddie Murphy is what I would put Tom Cruise in that.
Absolutely, Tom Cruise.
But all of the people that I mentioned,
Eddie Murphy hasn't done anything of note in 2 decades.
Okay, but what I'm saying is
Stallone and Schwarzenegger have.
The 4 people that I've mentioned so far are the 4 people that I can think of who had a run where no matter what they did, whether it was good or bad, they were hits.
Okay, sure. I'll admit
to
that.
Me, that's movie star.
Eddie Murphy had a run. Sure,
yeah,
absolutely.
To me, that's movie star.
But over the course of time,
can you name somebody else? I'm trying to think. of a 5th.
I mean, when I think of Stallone, obviously Schwarzenegger. I think of Bruce Willis. I think of some of these types that have,
Bruce Willis never had like a run where everybody was going to see this latest Bruce Willis movie. Okay, he had the Die Hard franchise, but then he would do like In Country, which nobody saw, and then he'd do these little independent movies to his credit, But I'm trying to think of somebody who, no matter, you know who the 5th is? It's not a male, it's a female. Julia Roberts. She had a run where Julia Roberts movies were hits. Tom Hanks.
I'll give you Tom Hanks before Julia Roberts.
I don't know. I don't know. It's a tough call if I'm thinking of 5. But that, to me, is movie stars, actors. Some might cross over.
I liked one Julia Roberts movie.
I can't even
You're
remember
supposed to
one
say
that I
which
liked.
one. I did
Which
enjoy
one?
Erin Brockovich. That was about it.
I didn't even see that.
The others, no. Last question.
I like Valentine's Day.
This it for Rocky? Is Rocky dead and gone? Will we see another Creed? Could we see a Rocky sequel? Do we want? I mean, come on, we're entering dangerous. We're entering dangerous territory.
Just like I said after Rocky Balboa, I'm good. But then they came up with Creed and gave me something new to cheer for. So I have faith in Stallone that if he feels there's more to tell, I'll be there.
There will be more to tell. There will be more topics that are not worthwhile. There will be more podcasts with Moody and Groo. Stay tuned. We will be discussing the new Terminator movie, Dark Fate. Oh, I'm getting played out. You have been
keep
listening.
Talking. Wait, no. What are we doing next? This goes on for a little bit. So keep talking.
Well, we're going to discuss Terminator Dark Fate.
Terminator Dark Fate. That's going to get heated, I feel.
Well, I mean, hit pause and let's get to it. But we do want to wish everyone a fond adieu. It's been a pleasure discussing the Rocky franchise with you, my friend.
As always, I'm always happy to discuss Rocky.
And that's it. Moody Groo, nothing worthwhile.
The pleasure was all yours. No. Yes. Oh, wait. It's been so long we forgot our catchphrase. On 3. 1, 2, 3.
Rip 'em! Yazoo.